Gangster. 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 Gangster.
Yeah.
We're the Gangsta Hippies, the Gangsta Hippy podcast. We're in the building. Yeah, it's your boy Ricky Licks, Harry Ixer, and the legend, the man, UK hip hop's king, Skinnyman. He's come to join us for episode 1. You're going to be seeing a lot more from Gangsta Hippy.
I'm the Gangsta Hippy who's had a haircut. They
There
got
you
no
go.
barbers where you come from, boy!
Come on, bro. You're going to be seeing a lot more from Gangsta Hippy in terms of events, putting out music, the podcast. So look out for that. As we're trying to, make the wave this year and get the gangsters involved, the hippies involved, and everyone in between. Do you know what I mean? I'm talking, old lifers to people with farms and revolutionaries. Everyone. We're trying to get, between us, we know a lot. We know a lot of gangster hippies. Do you know what I mean?
There's no demographic that the Gangsta Hippies aren't willing to cover. So just watch this space for what's coming.
Who better to have as our first guest? Do you know what I mean? Like,
I'll drink to that.
Yeah.
Come on. Ching.
You need your little beaker.
No. But also big up Lieu, big up Jarrell, big up Percy.
Every time.
We got the whole team here. But
Yes.
who better to start the Gangsta Hippie podcast with than you, Skinny Man?
Come
Do you know
on.
what I mean?
Boom.
Yes.
Bam. I'm
Right.
here with the Gangsta Hippies.
Basically, I just want
Start of the year, by the way. Happy New Year for
Happy
all
New
of you
Year
lot who's
to
up to
everyone.
date. We've made it to 22 too.
Exactly.
Yeah,
We
we
made
did
it.
it big.
We're
We
still-
survived.
we
We live to tell the tale.
We've got to stick together now. It's hard times.
It's turbulent times.
I wanna go back to first of all, basically back in the day, I listened to predominantly American rap, but you stood out for me when I heard the Skits album, and on the bike, I can't remember the bar, but I was like, well, he stuck out.
Riding round on a bike that every
Everyone
cracker
is-
jeans are stealing.
Yeah. You stood
Yeah.
out for me back in the day. Do you know what I mean? And I used to look up to you like I looked up to all my favorite American artists. And I was in Aylesbury, and Aylesbury's one of them prisons. It's hard to get things sent in and all of that. My co-defendant, he was on the enhanced wing, so I used to get CDs sent to him. And I remember my mum sent me your CD,
Council of State of Mind.
Council of State of Mind. So I was in Aylesbury 03, 04. So it would have been then when I got and that album got passed around like a bash mag. Like everyone loved that album. Of course, there's so much to
Bible
do
on the
with
landings.
prison.
Bible on the landings.
Even before the show, we was talking about you writing bars on the back of apps and all that. I've got hundreds of lyrics
Written on apps.
to this day. I've still got them. So basically, boom, I had your album. Like that was like fucking gold.
Yeah.
In jail, having that album, and even people that weren't really big into hip hop used to love that album. Do you know what I mean? So fast forward, boom, that was at 03, 04. Fast forward to 2012. I was telling Harry and Lieu, yes, can you remember Ruben?
Yes.
So me and Ruben,
peoples.
I worked my way into a DCAT. I'm now on a different sentence. And I got kicked out of DCAT because they found fucking Ruben Spice. Big up Ruben. I had to take the case with him. The screws have rushed the fucking cell.
Pain.
We've got bags of... I'm thinking the cell's clean. Little do I know, Ruben's got about 20 bags of spice in his fucking... So I'm looking at him when they're taking us out of the DCAT back to A-Wing thinking, bro, you're not going to put your hands up? Of course he's not going to put his hands up. I'm now taking... So anyway, they kicked me out of fucking DCAT and they moved me from A-Wing to G-Wing and I'm banged up with Ruben and I'm walking to surgery one day and I see Skinny Man walking towards me. And I was like seeing an old friend. And I was like, yo, what's happening, Skinny? He's like, yo, well, go on, blood. And carried on walking past me. I was like, wow, that's mad. Do you know what I mean? So that was 7 or 8 years later, maybe more. And then bam, came to your cell, started chatting, and the rest is history. I've known you since then, do you know what I mean? Most people you don't keep in contact with that you meet in jail. So the fact that I got to meet you and then keep in contact and be doing
keep
shit
the
like
link
this.
alive, keep the link alive.
So that's my link on how I met you, and from being a fan of yours to becoming a friend of yours. Do you know what I mean? It's deep. So yeah, big up for coming on the show anyway,
bless,
bro.
come on. And shout out to all of the soldiers on the wing that mean to link up, and then when you get out, life gets in the way. Because there's many great bonds made amongst brothers in arms in those kind of confinements. And sometimes what you may plan to do on the outside doesn't always come to fruition, but the sentiment of what your heart wanted to do with them people,
It's still
don't
real.
let that die, because some people who I've known all of my life, the times when we have got to spend time together is when we've been in them confinements.
Yeah.
And then when we're thrown back out in the jungle, we lose our way and we don't get to make that link. And then when we're thrown back in the confinement, we link again. And I've had many of friends along my life that I've only been able to have that time with when we were in the confinement. When we're thrown back out to the jungle, we're all trying to find our own way. So it's hard to keep a link with someone that you bonded with. It's great that we've managed to do that.
Yeah. In a way, it's like when I got released from doing my big sentence, my 7.5 when I was young, a friend of mine from the same area, he came back from Afghanistan around the same time, and the similarities that we had. And you're doing a big sentence with people, do you know what I mean? You're spending day to day and they're getting treated like shit by the screws and you're all missing the same things and all that. You build up that, what's that word? Camaraderie, do you know what I mean?
Camaraderie,
Like,
yeah,
and
camaraderie,
you meet some good friends and some good people in jail, do you know what I mean?
That you're sharing the struggle with.
Yeah. And it's
And
funny,
the
that
reason
little bit is that little sentence there. The people I met right at the end of the sentence, you, Ruben, Brett, for some reason I kept in contact with like a good few people just from that
Out of
couple
all the
months
people
on
that you met
G-Wing,
along
do
the
you know
way,
what I mean?
all the people you met along with the tour,
Yeah,
the people at the very end of the tour are the ones you're still with.
You see,
Even that's how we linked. Like, in the same year where you met, that's when I moved to Norwich, 2012, and when you were in the DCAT and you were allowed out to come to
That's what I said to you last night.
Yeah,
I met
that's when we met. I was
around
working.
the same time I met Skinny.
I was the
Getting to go to
apprentice.
Castle
Because I just got
Castle
kicked out of
Moor.
DCAT.
Yeah, I was the apprentice I was the apprentice at Future Radio.
Yeah.
That's why I went there, to be the apprentice engineer in the studio there. And that's the only place he was going, was the studio. And I was like 18, like learning how to engineer in there, and I was a rapper. And then Licks lands, and then he's coming there all the time, and you're just getting all bunning your spice, and then going in the booth, getting all like energies and putting it down. And I was like, wow. And you asked me to spit a 16, and then I spat it, and you felt it, and then you're like, you got another one? You think you're a rapper? You got another 16? I was like, yeah, I got another 16, and spat another one. So yeah, now we're looking.
That's when you was called Expression, isn't it?
Yeah, Expression with an I, Harry Ixer. Until Buckers was like, mate, you were named. You're called Harry Ixer. Like, you got to rock that. Everyone loves saying your name. And it's true. People say my whole name when they chat to me. They're like, Harry Ixer, rather than Harry. So anyway, long story short.
Can't be more true to self than name, but that must have been.
But yeah, not using your government
a
is
good time for music to link up.
Yeah,
it was all going down.
It's all getting cross-pollinated and expanded. And now that's 10 years ago, and the wave is, it's all, still going. It just stars align slowly. I don't know, that's like what's it called? The supernova that burst, and now it's still like,
I think,
clearing.
A lot of people know you, Skinny, from down in Norwich, do you know what I mean? Like, you've got a link with Norwich, you know, we'll talk about it off air, and obviously, you know, I mentioned you to people know you from down these sort of, like, from down Norwich anyway. By the way, we're in an undisclosed location right now, do you know what I mean? But like, in terms of Norwich, you got that relationship with Norwich.
We're in a Gangsta Hippy humble home.
You know them ones.
But
there.
I think when I went to Norwich for the first time with the Mud Fam, I kind of felt like there's a good energy going on with the scene and the demographic that we went to perform to, that I felt so comfortable. I thought, do you know what, out of choice of everywhere that I've been on tour, I'm happy to return there because of the way that I felt the frequency was vibrating. There seemed to be a good frequency vibrating between all demographic of people that listen to music and hip hop, and then getting to know the town.
The sound system.
Reggae. And not only the sound system and the reggae, but also the illegal party mentality.
100.
Yeah.
And I think the fact that the illegal party mentality has maintained in East Anglia,
Yeah, it has, yeah.
because you have the space and the capacity, even against all adversities, such as police, tear gas, license closure, taking away your stuff, your belongings, DJs having their sound system confiscated, etc. Amongst all the adversities,
That doesn't faze people in Norfolk.
that's why I'm saying that, and I think that shows the good energy of the good frequency for people who have a will to want to party and are willing to go to any lengths and means necessary to ensure that.
And we will continue to do so.
I think that's a magic that EA has in its water, and so whatever that is, I recognized that on something that 10 years ago, I knew that the demographic of the UK's music was about to be really embraced by its own, which in turn would only lead to expansion. If we think about London being the major city, you think, well, they're going to start to get their shine, the UK artists. This is after the Channel U era where we started to get our shine.
Yeah.
I thought, well, it's only now you're going to see a demographic of the culture and the scene and the music evolving, expanding, and also being embraced. I think that from times of when we first had our envision of what the scene could potentially become in East Anglia, looking in reflection as to what it was at that time in London, we've since then seen artists like Bugsy from where they from Coventry. We've seen the kid
Young
H,
T and Bugsy. Yeah,
Young
yeah.
T and Bugsy. We've seen the kid H from Manchester.
yeah.
We're
RD.
seeing Ardy from Brighton. We're also seeing that there's been an underground
Millions in Birmingham.
millions in Birmingham. Yeah, you know, you've seen the evolution, and whether it was with the grime and the generation before Millions in Birmingham that have been repping the
Yeah,
grime.
Socks, JK,
I mean,
Invasion. and
Even
all
if
that.
you take it back to the movie One Day in Birmingham, we can actually say that that was the first ever musical rap film that pulled it
Yeah.
off without being corny.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that was big.
Yeah, masterpiece. So that's the Gangsta Hippy hotline. It must be a question coming in. But what we're saying that, yeah, so the evolution of the music from when we saw what it potentially could be then, that in the last 10 years, we've actually seen that flourish into what we imagined it to be, and then some. If we look at what popular music has become for kids in the charts, it's what we deem to be an underground, small genre of music. Your grime, your drill, your trap, your hip hop, your backpack, and all of these have managed to manifest into a wider audience where they're being received due to things like vehicles like the internet, social medias, digital medias, podcasts,
Smartphones, even.
smartphones.
People are just always in that world now.
The
innit?
accessibility of
Yeah.
having that at your fingertips.
Yeah.
So the scene has flourished beautifully. I will say that let's not forget movements like High Focus,
Yeah.
who, even though they weren't London based, they maintained to keep their following, their fan base, and
Yeah, that excited me. That's the age I am.
and their artistic expression
Yeah,
of what
that-
they bring to the table.
Yeah.
So, and then it shows you that there's also building of a legacy. Someone always starts somewhere, and most people that you see today that you may believe are overnight success, maybe it's just because they're being brought to the masses of attention overnight, when most cases, lots of things are 10 years in the working for them to become an overnight success. When I look at the UK scene, I know that there's pockets bubbling all over the map of the UK, Scotland, Wales, Ireland, that have been bubbling, waiting to flourish. And everybody seems to be getting their time to flourish. At the moment, I'd like to say it was such a breath of fresh air for me to see an artist like Shogun from Scotland
Scottish guy on the show. The rap
getting
game
the
thing.
shine and the recognition that he deserves to be a Scottish artist representing.
Was he on your radar before that TV show?
No, he wasn't.
No,
That
same,
TV
yeah.
show brought him to my audience.
Yeah.
So big up Krypton Conan for doing what they're
Yeah.
doing. Big up to DJ Target for doing what he's doing. And big up for everyone who's contributing and making the scene get the recognition that it's long deserved. For us to see it today, we're now in a beautiful understanding for the younger generation to believe that what for us was a dream is for the generation of today in British music a reality.
Yeah.
And the fact that the generation behind them can see that dreams become reality, and they're even being taught the formula in how to attain the limelight, which will bring them the views, which will bring them the success. I hope that we can now be educated enough to understand what self-branding, which when I first heard the term self-branding, I was like, what's he talking about? He's trying to be like a Kellogg's box. But now I totally understand and respect the term self-branding and what that means to be self-branding when I think about music lessons and everything that they've stood for. And I think about music lessons and everything that they've done for East Anglia. this is encapsulating everything that I mean of building a legacy that builds and gets stronger and becomes a brand. So when people look towards the EA legacy, they can say, well, because of music lessons really opening doors that would never be open to us before, our next generation has those doors open for us by the generation before. I believe it's always been our duty, when I was as young as I can remember, loving music from the time of Beastie Boys, LL Cool J, Run DMC, and before then, I kind of understood that when you ask a kid in England to go shop for a Ribena and a Curly Whirly and a packet of Monster Munch, it's like, or else I'll punch your face in. The mentality of the same little shorty on the corner in America, you'd be like, yo, shorty, go store. And he's like, for $5. And they kind of had that built-in mentality of the business ethic of their worth. And I, at my very infantry, young teenage, developing adolescence, picked upon these things that if you had someone who could sing really well in our immediate demographic of our environment, you'd be like, yeah, that girl can sing, you know. Someone like Hannah Tobias, the perfect example. Yeah, that girl can sing. Yeah, she's really brilliant. Yeah, have you seen her sing? Yeah, we saw her sing. Yeah, she's really brilliant. Then you see her around the way and you're like, oh, we saw you sing. You was really good. And it doesn't really seem to get any further than that, although she could be a world Grammy Award winning artist.
Real. Yeah.
And so you see things like that, and it saddens you, because when you think about our American counterparts, they'll be like, you know, someone who can sing. Because my cousin goes out with someone whose friend's a manager, and he knows another dude who owns a studio, and they've got a friend who owns a record company. And before you know it, that person's been nurtured by all of the things that are accessible to her, where they all come together to make sure the dream becomes the reality. And in America, they're very influenced and driven by the buck, where in England, we're more driven by the artistic expression and don't wish to compromise that for the buck. But at the same time, our artistic expression is for sale, and it must be exploited in all these avenues that potentially bring revenue for your music.
Every success story in the past, especially in America, is a combo of, a talented singer, but a smart business mind who's willing to exploit them. Maybe, well, usually they are exploited, but they don't have to be exploited. But what I mean is, it's not usually just like artists are artists and they bumble about and they smoke their zoots and they write their lyrics.
If I may say to what you're saying,
but
I remember being very young and Ice-T broke down these jewels. He said, the label's the pimp and you're the bitch. Now, if you're a good bitch that works the strip and brings in the dough, the pimp's gonna look after you. You might even be his main bitch. Like, I'm sure artists like Adele releasing her current album, she's the main bitch for that pimp right now. So they're pulling out all other stops and they're not even buying the other bitches' shoes and fancy fur coats.
We've seen Drake. You know, Drake is obviously the most popular artist.
So let me finish the point. Yeah. So the point he said is, so if you realize your worth and your value as the bitch, how's about being your own pimp? Woo. Because you're willing to be the bitch for yourself.
Yeah.
But are you willing to be your own pimp and be your bitch? Because if you're your own bitch and your own pimp, that's when you're cooking, right? Now, I remember those jewels and never forget them. So the importance of what can be attained independence for self than what someone else can do for you has always struck me as, no, you will only care about yourself more than other people will. And they will only be interested to you when you're the hot thing at the moment. And when the next hot thing comes along, their interest will divert where your interest never will. So this brings me to the point of today, where we know that the industry needs to exploit our music for avenues for there to be financial revenue returns. We are now in a beautiful position for the next generation of the future artists to learn that they can manipulate themselves for their own gains and not to be manipulated by anybody else, because the age of independence is accessible for you to do as an artist for yourself, as much for yourself and your career as an artist as any other record company can do for you, if not more so, because they're still working on a clock and on a budget. You're working on you. There shouldn't be no clock. There shouldn't be no budget.
As an artist, we are naturally, we're not lazy, but we're creative. So it's helpful to have a team where you've got your best mate who's like got a hustler's mind, who's just like sees the strengths in you, boom, let's go hard. Because yeah, like so many artists aren't going to get to that next level because they are just like, I don't know, they might be majorly depressed. They might be the most soulful singer, but they got, so yeah, it's like now is the time for independent, but make sure you got those strong, and I'm just speaking, like, I'm not speaking even from experience. I'm not like some popping artist. I'm just saying, like, yeah, I agree with you, but also there's a lot to be said for having other people, like, what's it called? Like, dishing out the roles. Like, what's that called when you,
Yeah, so the artist can just be the artist.
I'm gonna
what's
second,
it called in like military terms where you make other people do shit?
I'm gonna
like,
second what you said,
yeah,
and then I'm gonna explain further as to
yeah,
why.
no, keep going.
Now, I believe it's really essential to support local artists for us to all become unified, so then we can have a structure base of network where all independent artists can share a platform where there's equal treatment and equal revenue for all involved. So therefore, if you've just done your new CD, you're not quite the artist with the visuals, and you wish to commission your friend, somebody you know, to do your artwork for you, that's a beautiful thing. Differently, if you're working for a pimp who's telling you that they're going to determine what artwork goes on your CD cover, then your artistic expression is being compromised, and you don't have the right to say nothing. You'll get a pimp slap. You understand? You get dropped from your label, your single will be pulled back. You won't get the video budget. They're not going to spend as much as on the marketing and promotion now. You know, so that's where you talk about what the compromise of independence is. Independently, you can commission any artist you like to come up with whatever suits you. If you're signed to a label, they might want to dictate to you what the artwork on your label is going to be. Not only that, more examples to second that is your friend who you wanted to do the artwork for you was going to do it for £100. They're telling you no, it's going to be designed by their guy who they believe to be the new Virgin Abloh, and that's going to be £100,000 out of your budget. A compromise down to the individual's decision. But I can see so many benefits in having the rights to create what you want to create under your own vision, as opposed to being told what to do by somebody. But that's just me individually.
Oh, definitely. No,
but I'm totally
100%.
supportive of all artists working together, all artists linking up. If we look at the bigger picture of what the business is and what the business means, I might not be quite the lawyer with the paperwork when doing a publishing deal or something like that. And then it's my choice of me seeking out who I wish to represent me, and because that's the law firm of whose pocket I'm going to be putting money into their pocket for providing me their legal services. I don't want that to be dictated to me of who I can have to represent me neither. If it's someone else telling me that I have to be appointed a certain lawyer that works in the benefits of their interest and not my own, I can see conflict there. So again, for us to work together as a network of artists and support each other. One guy is the directive artistic creator for the artwork. Another guy is the guy who's the wizard behind the boards who makes you sound good. Another guy is the guy who, you know, and you kind of, you may want help from someone else who's like, yo, you've always been the fashion guy and I want something, you know, I feel proud about getting this opportunity to film a video. I want a nice outfit that will reflect that I've put effort into how I want to
get your Gangsta Hippy t-shirts.
Look, you know, especially a Gangsta Hippy
It's just
t-shirt.
about building the right team,
And so therefore you might want to freelance a fashion person who get your wardrobe of stuff to choose from. You know, someone like me, you might want to go, no, I don't want nothing like that. I like walking around Camden and picking what I like personally, thanks.
Yeah.
You know, so it's down to the individual, but you know, again, do you have that choice as a young artist? Being thrown $1 million deal, sometimes the $1 million deal can be for the artwork that you didn't want, people to pick you clothes that you'd never wear, you know, people to make you tracks that you'd never rap
end
on
up on a tune with some dickhead that you don't even listen to,
and all of this,
and like forcing your verse.
It's
literally like being whipped to write a verse. It's not even strong.
It's dictating in what way your career goes. So as an individual, I say that we've long since people like Soulja Boy's rise to fame with his internet success being a great lesson for us all to learn from, to apply and adhere to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He used the internet and
So what
Create his
English
own
shit
wave.
do you like at the minute, Skinny? Do you like any these new artists stand out for you?
Yeah, I mean, Little Sims's album at the
Yes.
moment has got to be my number one album of 2021.
Oh,
what's it
I'll
called
have to
again?
check that
Introvert.
Introvert, something introverted.
Lieu, what's the name of the album? Because we've got to shout that out. Sometimes I'm an introvert, I think it's called.
Okay, Little
Big
Sims,
album.
yeah.
Little Sims album, the
Okay,
Introvert
yeah.
one, and the videos which she directed herself. Her whole artistic vision was brought to light by herself.
Yeah.
So we've got to give her
Yeah, I respect
flowers for not just the rapping. She's responsible for the production, the video direction.
I'll
And there's
have
some
to check
timeless
of that
tunes
out.
on there.
I
Oh,
haven't checked
you've
that out.
got to check
Hard
it out.
body.
It's been such a breath of fresh air amongst all the mediocre that's currently available.
that. Yeah, that one will stand the test of time. Like, there's tunes on there that look, it's like
What sort of
Lauryn
beats does
Hill.
she spit on?
Oh,
She's like, it's instruments, it's
she's so
diverse,
eclectic,
there's loads
you
of
couldn't
shit on
call
there.
it.
Yeah,
She's
yeah.
so
But honestly,
eclectic.
like some timeless
But
shit
on the
there.
album, very Afrobeats influence,
You
very
need to
boom
just
bap
check how
influence.
the
Very,
levels sounding for
I
us.
mean, she's brilliant.
Yeah.
So then, can I go on to say, someone who's been going from strength to strength to strength, watching the beautiful journey of them flourishing into what the monster that they've become is Ransom Bad Bones.
Yeah.
Because I've watched him grow and grow and grow and hone his technique, his
So now
flow.
he's a star,
I need to catch up on his new stuff. I was
It's like-
heavy
it's-
on him back in the day, but
It's like when you see, if we can compare him to someone in levels of Kung Fu,
Yeah.
you know, like he's worked his way up to black belt.
He's a master.
Now he's a
man.
first dan,
Yeah,
second dan, now he's a third dan.
Yeah.
You know, and like where he is at the moment in his Wing Chun, he's like Ip Man
deadly.
yeah.
right now. So Ransom
Okay,
Bad Bones, I
that's
have to
major
just,
props.
I
Yeah, I
have
need
to
to
just.
research.
I have to
So
give
what
them them
about
props.
what about the UK drill stuff? Do you listen to like
I
what
listen
the
to
youngsters
it all, and I love it all. I mean,
Yeah.
and I shout out all of the forums that are bringing us this music as well, like Daily Duppy, Fumes the Engineer, even
So
though
what's
there's
this?
controversy.
Yeah.
So all of the platforms that bring us the local talent through media outlets, I think is brilliant. I mean, for me to be able to see the chart success, number one positions of artists like Heady One, to see the rise of OFB, to see Fredo, to see Diggity.
Pot of paper.
Pot of Paper is another one who's been a long time coming because
Yeah, and he
So-
on his first tape, he's rhyming on your tune.
So what's the
isn't
dude that you said earlier? His dad is Mark Duggan.
it? Band OK,
That's
yeah.
Band OK
Band
from
O-
OFB.
Yeah, man.
Right, that's
Yeah,
what I'm saying.
fine. He looks
The
just
rise-
like him.
He likes him,
yes,
innit?
the rise of OFB.
Yeah.
But like we just said, Pot of Paper has to get like
And he came
Major
out.
props.
He looks like he's just said this time now. Fuck that. Do you know what I mean?
He was banged up in Norwich
No
as well.
more
You
of
know
that.
that?
Do you know what?
Since he came out this time, he just, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, he's on fire.
He went.
I
he
don't know.
went
I don't know
extra.
if it's right for me to speak on this, but because we're on Gangsta Hippies, I'm going to speak my heart and let loose. Salute to Pot of Paper. You are a 4-star general, 5-star general
Yeah.
in this thing, and I'm going to
Respect.
break down why. Because from the beginning of his grind, from the root of his grind, he was hungry, uncompromised, stayed true to himself, and brought you the unapologetic, raw, undiluted version of his
Yeah.
life, according to him, through his eyes, speaking his truth. I was watching him thinking, this is so beautiful as a breath of fresh air to see someone represent their heart on their sleeve as I do.
Yeah.
And I felt him firsthand. Then I saw the success of people relating to him and his demographic becoming wider, his notoriety becoming the name on people's tongues.
Yeah.
And I see something where he was in the back of a car and he had a blinged out £50 note chain.
Yeah.
And I saw the blinged out £50 note chain and I went, yo, no, it's too soon. Like, I'm just speaking my heart as a youth that I am in my ends, knowing Wagwan differently. Yeah. So I'm like, no, it's too soon. Like to be Puff Daddy, you're still on the block.
Yeah.
You're still on the block, active, Can't be showing him
Famous
the
for it.
Puff Daddy
Yeah.
£50 note bling. I think it hit me the same when I saw Nines throwing money everywhere.
Yeah.
And I was like,
And
don't
Nines
do
on
that.
Yeah.
Don't do that. No.
that
You
turf.
So
don't.
are you talking about pot of paper before he went in jail again?
Before he went in jail,
then bam.
because I see him with a big £50 chain, I was like, no, brother, no, not yet.
And then you got
You're still on the
nicked.
block, you're still active, and you're looking like Puff Daddy out here, and your best friends are gonna kind of feel a bit sour about them things there. Like, hold tight, wait for that.
Yeah.
Next thing I know, he's nyam.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, it's inevitable that nyam, because I'm looking at you, the public are looking at you. Do you think the feds ain't looking at you?
That's the thing, isn't it? Bam.
So that's like when I saw Nine throwing all that money on the
go on.
floor, that was brought to my attention by children.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what's going on here? Unless he can declare that he's just won the lottery.
So what's Nines doing, like 2 years or something?
You know, like, we don't want to speak on people's convictions. We want to say free those who deserve to be free. Nines is
no
definitely
doubt.
someone who we appreciate for the contribution of the culture.
Definitely.
Yeah,
You know,
100.
ring the alarm.
Probably the
Gangsta
best two
Hippy's
fire in the
carnage.
booths. Pot of Papers fire in the booth is nuts. And yeah, Nines when he just went up there all stoned, wearing all his chains, spitting about girls.
K-Coke's fire in the
Yeah,
booth
don't get me wrong.
because his convictions tried to sabotage his career.
Giving Charlie presents, just having a fight, laughing.
Let's look at the rise of Gigs, who we have to herald, you know, and how the government tried to sabotage his career as the government tried to sabotage the rise of Soul Solid Crew. You know, where would Soul Solid Crew be today if the government didn't disband their movement? You know, Gigs went from strength to strength and rose above all obstacles that they could throw at him, and now he's reaping the rewards.
Yeah.
You know,
Seen him in pictures
Pot
with
of
Nas
Paper-
recently.
Pot of
and
Paper
all
must
of
have been like a monster. Like, yo, I almost had it. It was in my fingertips. I was,
Yeah.
I swear,
And-
I
and
had
I
my hands
feel-
on it, and then I'm gone. Nah, bruv, do you know what? For what it's worth, the fact that I nearly had it, I'm gonna go get it.
Yeah, he
and
went
he
and got
came
it.
and
Doubled
he's got
down.
it.
Yeah,
Right now, he's a
yes,
5-star general. I
he's
see
an
him.
animal.
I see his
He's a-
mobile
he's an
performance.
animal with it, bro.
Boy,
I know, even though he did the
Jeez.
Live Lounge Drake cover just on the Drake beat. Like, he's so professional with it. He's born to do it. Like, it's literally
yes,
going.
we out in the building to see his mobile performance and the way he shelled it down. I'm there. Woo, emotional.
I bet.
Emotional. This is a real G shining on stage for the world to see.
Yeah.
Global platform. Get yours. I'm coming for mine. And
I don't know if this is-
inspirational to an old dog like me. I'm like, we're the same brothers.
I think
Yeah.
Def
You're
Jam
getting
have
yours.
signed it.
I'm coming for mine.
I think Potter's Def
Yeah,
Jam.
they're lucky.
Def Jam
No,
International or some shit. He's the hardest.
listen. They're lucky, innit?
Yeah.
They're lucky, innit? They're
there's-
lucky. They're lucky.
See, Gigs
Because
is-
he's already a don.
Gigs- that
If
Gigs-
they've signed him, remember, it's
It's
their-
on his terms, exactly.
No, they're lucky.
Yeah, no, what I'm saying is he wouldn't have signed that unless it was suiting
They
his
never
picture.
built him. They never made him.
yeah,
Gigs.
exactly.
Make another pot of paper.
No,
yeah, you can't. See it there?
Gigs walk in the park. That was like, for
Wow.
me, that was
Landlord.
that's
The
walk in the
mixtapes
park,
when you're in
that's,
jail
you know
and
what
you're
I
getting
mean?
the Holloman mixtapes. Come
The
on.
album.
Gigs.
Yeah, the Lieu gigs.
More anthems for the landings, you know what I mean?
Yeah, that was one of them albums that, like Cancel a State of Mind, used to bang in jail.
But
'cause it's
look how
that
they've
vibe.
tried to shut
Gigs
it
was
down.
someone who'd done a lot of jail, so for someone like myself who'd done a lot of time in jail, them some certain albums used to bang in jail.
But when you're
On
aware,
a funny level, away from rap, I remember like when I was young, there'd always be a Tracy Chapman CD on the wing. There'd always be a UB40
Revolutionary
album on the
music.
wing. There'd always be a Bob Marley. There'd always be a Tupac. Do you know
A
what I
sound tape.
mean?
it'd be a sound tape.
Huh?
Stone Love sound tape.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? I got a piece of paper. I wish I could have found it, but I know I still
I
got
mean-
it. It's a piece of paper that you writ on a prison letter. You writ some things down for me
To research.
to watch and to
research and
videos.
to check out.
If I remember, I think that like Graham Hancock,
Yes.
things like that was
Yes,
on there.
yes.
Who I watch to this day. Do you know what I mean? He's a G, bruv.
Yeah.
Shouts out to all of the sound systems who put in the work, who brought the sound tapes for the landings over the years. Kilimanjaro, King Addis, Stone Love, General Trees, Metro Media Sound, too many to mention, all of the UK sounds, Saxon Coxon, the sounds from Birmingham, V, Rocket Valerie, and every sound man who flung down the dub plates and made sound tapes for us to listen in the Bing. Love you for that.
certified
Yeah,
sound boy. They're
100%.
reeling them out like it's nothing.
No,
One
because you have to.
finger.
You have to.
Yeah.
Big up to Fat Man Sound System. Big up to King Tubbies. Big up to King Jammies. Big up to the Foundations. Come on.
Yeah.
I mean, like what you were saying earlier about the Norwich and Norfolk sound systems. I don't know. It just seems to me like after lockdown, there seems to be like more illegal raves and more people doing it themselves and stuff like that because they're not going to the clubs as much. Do you know what I mean? So,
Well, let's speak on this being Gangsta Hippies, because in the 60s, they speak of a magic that happened, the revolution, the love revolution, rah, rah. And if we look at the demographic of the 60s, we know that this is a time when there was a Vietnam War going on. They had assassinated Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, JF Kennedy,
Yeah.
the singer from the Beatles, John Lennon, you know, and anyone who spoke of let's try love as an alternative and got an audience of a following preaching let's try love as an alternative, got a bullet in their head.
Shut down. Yeah.
So the 70s would have been a time where it's like, yo, radical, but what's going on? And they speak of the 60s being of love. That's what the 60s was. And then when we speak of the 70s and Britain looking at the miners' strikes, and in America looking at the time where unemployment was at a height in the lower working class environments of the South Bronx and places like that, which to me totally mirrored places like Hackney, mirrored places like Tottenham, you know. So when I look at the demographic being the same, and then hearing the music, and that's reflecting on the demographic of what we're going through, people are still trying to have a good time, but still have a revolutionary movement and a revolutionary voice. And it seemed like a revolutionary voice was very threatened. So whether it was coming through any form of artistic expression, being art, dance, theater, music, or anything, they were trying to express, they were trying to suppress the expression of revolution, of wanting a better way, because when you go home, you're unemployed, there's no work, you got your kids, school's terrible, you know, there's no, and society's breaking down, and people were reflecting on that. So in a generation for us that started to embrace music in our youth, we grew up with the punk revolution, seeing it being glue sniffing, you know, gas sniffing, skinheads, wearing NF Schwartz stickers, tight boots. But at the same time, we saw the Rasta movement. We saw that somebody like Peter Tosh was doing a song with somebody like Mick Jagger, and it was all coming together. And Bob Marley was covering, what's his name, Dylan?
Eric Clapton.
No, Dylan.
Bob Dylan.
Bob Dylan.
Yeah.
You know, Bob Marley was covering Bob Dylan's songs.
Yeah.
Eric Clapton was covering Bob Marley songs, which was very good for the scene of reggae music.
Cross-pollinated strains.
Yeah.
One
And
Shot the Sheriff, was it?
yeah, which was Eric Clapton covering a Bob Marley song.
Right, yeah.
So it was a great time for the music and the vibration and the expression going on. And it seemed like they wanted to shut that down. They didn't want disco music. Motown flourished. Jackson 5 flourished. And it started bringing black music more to the attention of white suburban audiences. As we go through the times, we started to get what we saw was hip hop. In the UK, we was getting it firsthand directly from what was going on from New York, probably before the West Coast was, and probably before other states in America was. It was coming to London from New York like a direct link up, with people being very instrumental in that, like Debbie Harris from Blondie and Malcolm McLaren doing Buffalo Girls Go Round the Outside, linking up with Fab Five Freddy and the whole movement, and showing that as ambassadors of the UK music, punk and new wave and whatever Boy George's music you call, and all them things there.
So, man, we touched on this, didn't we?
And
on the
Depeche,
last-
Depeche Mode and your Spandau Ballets and all of that coming from the UK, and Malcolm McLaren being a figurehead of that whole trend, the Carnaby Street movement and all of this, and showing that he's giving recognition to a movement that's happening on the street corners of the Bronx, which today we can say is the biggest vehicle in music today. Outdoes anybody else in sales, outdoes anybody else in advertisement revenue. It's the biggest vehicle of cultural exploitation today is hip hop culture. But we're talking about our generation. So when the UK started to embrace its own identity through UK reggae sound systems, UK soul music, such as Loose Ends, such as Soul to Soul. There was even a group from Liverpool that were amazing. I don't know their name, but they still need the recognition. Light of the World, and soul bands like these. were getting their recognition. UK hip hop was also getting its recognition with Derek B, Wee Papa Girl rappers, Betty Boop on the TV, the seeing breakdance on Top of the Pops, and then also showing us Eric B and Rakim on Top of the Pops, and Dougie Fresh and Slick Rick on Top of the Pops. And we're getting this exposure of this culture that we're also embracing in our own way. We was about to flourish so much in our reggae, in our soul music, in our hip hop. And then in the middle of the 80s, where we were just identifying with our own essence of our own cultural take on these musics that were influential from other places, acid house came along.
Yeah.
And I think the drug zone kind of suppressed all musics, and it seemed that it take the nation by storm. When I'm going to say that they talk of a magical time in the 60s, I'm leading up to say, as Gangsta Hippies, what I saw as a young teenage adolescent firsthand, being in these illegal raves, coming full circle on it, coming 87, coming full circle on these conversations, is people from all demographics of all background. You could be a judge's daughter from Hampstead. You could be a dread from Hackney. You could be a skinhead NF.
Football thug.
You could be a football thug. You could be a little rude boy. You could be a hip hop head. You could be, you know, anyone from any demographic was coming under one place.
Yeah.
And being drug fueled, whether it was ecstasy, whatever. And because of them taking ecstasy in these environments and becoming drug fueled, I identified as a first-hand witness, unification of masses of people brought together in congregation like church, all feeling unified in love together under one frequency. And the fact that I witnessed that, if you was to try to tell me, I wouldn't believe you. But I was there. So I know that I was in these raves watching everyone go. Dum, dum, dum,
So are you on about the
dum.
illegal raves? Yeah.
I'm on about the illegal
original
raves.
raves.
So like warehouses and all
What's
of
your
that.
name? Where you're from? How many you won? You stole a car. You drove up the M25. You went to this phone box. You rung a number. They told you which exit to take off. You was there.
So you was there. You lived that, innit?
I used to steal Morris Minor cars and MG midgets with a mini window wiper file down, putting a little granddad cap and just get there and
You're saying it's one lineage from
Speckled
Scar
Doves,
through
Double
all of that,
Doves,
all the way to the birth of rave.
That's the thing.
So,
because like some of the old guys that I met in jail back in the day, like you're talking big old school fucking. You're talking big old school gangsters. Do you know what I mean? That would tell stories about being in raves with whistles and glasses because they were so off their nut on ecstasy and all these new drugs that
all your inhibitions are gone.
All these gangsters and thugs and hooligans was all loving each other and that. Do you know what I mean?
The most dangerous people in this
time.
country all in one spot.
You'll be kissing and hugging your enemy because he's just full of all this ecstasy. Do you know what I mean?
Imagine if everyone in the whole world.
I saw it. I witnessed everyone unified in love, and I witnessed it for years on end until the police came with tear gas and batons to say no, the love is over. Because do you know how that threatens the government's regime for everybody to be unified in love? That's the most threatening thing that can oppose the big agenda.
And it's not even just the E, it's the massive speakers pumping one frequency. Everyone, you don't even need to think, or if maybe you're not a social person, if you're in front of speakers next to some next man just dancing out, you just feeling it. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, that is powerful. The music
unifies us. So we saw what that was. I mean, so we know alone, music is so unifying. It can bring together people. It can put them on a frequency. It can turn people all in love. You know, like, and I've seen the magic of this firsthand, to experience it and see it and feel it and know it, to preach it. I hope that for the younger generation, they may see this again. Just the ethos of being unified in love, because all of the politics that we have in our society forbid anybody from coming together unified in love.
So he's saying that this bullshit, what does happen at times of desperate times, there's a resistance, and like that's where the rave scene came from, that's where punk came from, all the things you're talking about, hip hop and
resistance
music. So now that's the question, well, not the question, the thing Lick said was, because of these COVID restrictions and these measures, those illegal parties are popping off in the woods in the countryside because you can't prevent people. We're human beings. We've been dancing for thousands of years.
Because you're creating
Like, it
more
goes-
rebel. The more you
Yeah.
tell people what to do, you're
more
creating
pressure, the
more
more
rebels.
But this
because
is-
even the normal people are saying, nah,
this
bro,
is-
fuck that. We know you lot are up to something
So
now.
the wider demographic to then be considered is when you're so passionately driven to do something, and often than not, you'll be discouraged by people who will see that, oh, you can't just hold an illegal party in a rave. You can't just, your immediates. All of the people will be like, you can't just, but you do it and you did it and it was a success. What do you mean you can't just? All of these dream killers,
Yeah.
First you've got all the dream killers. Then what you've got is an open monopoly, whether your mind is gangster-like or whether your mind is hippie-like. You're driven by your will of desire to want to follow through and take action. I'll quote the SAS's motto, he who dares wins.
Rodney.
So you could be a little boy from suburbia who's like, well, I'm going to string up a sound system and invite everyone everywhere and we're going to party and we're going to be in euphoria and we're going to be in the woods and we're going to have it, and we're going to have, we're going to do it like that. And then you might have a gangster who's like, I'm going to do the same, but I'm going to have security firms. It's going to be my geezers selling the gear. We're going to have a look out for the coppers. We're going to make a mint, Harry. Gangsters, get all the kids. Tell them all, get on the fucking M25. This has become business. What's that? There's a little fucking hippie kid threatening our shit. Well, you better fucking tell him if he wants to have a rave, we're going to fucking do him. And then you've got
And that's what happened in the original rave, isn't it?
It can happen. And even with the police saying, look, the government's told us that this has to be broken up. So then how do you then conform? Oh, we now have to find clubs that will permit us to try create the same environment within the controlled environment.
So what happens when the controlled environment says you can't come in unless you've got your pass? Then it goes back to
if
the
we
Wild
can
West.
reference and show our age and our wisdom and our greys, what was the name of the bill passed so that they couldn't?
The police something.
It was the Public Something Act, so that four
They
or
can
more
take
people.
speakers, basically.
No, 4 or more people can't gather.
Oh, what you mean the one right now?
No, it
So when
was
was that, about 20
one.
years ago or
yeah,
something?
it was when they brought the law.
91.
When they brought the law to
91.
disperse
The
the
rave,
rave,
I've
it
forgotten
was
the
the
name of it, yeah.
it was the Public Gathering Act or something
And
like
they can
that.
seize equipment as
No,
well. in
they
that.
they can tell 4 people all split in 4 different directions. And I says, well, even if they were brothers of a family of 4 brothers, and it was like, if there's 3 of you, but if there's 4 of you, they can disperse you. And that was a law put into
Maybe
you understand? And that was to stop the
Because
raving.
in these times, like, we need music more than ever. Do you know what I mean?
No,
'Cause
just
it's
on that
it's like you're
subject.
saying, it's the thing that unifies us, and like,
Let me just quickly, on what you're saying, you know this police act that's coming in now, the police bill, you know in it, they're making it, this is bullshit, this Pretty Patel shit,
What's
pages
the
and
law with
pages
that?
long, making it
Says,
illegal,
no, I'm good for now.
making it illegal
Until I'm done.
to live in caravans, all of this, but also, the reason I mention it, they're saying that holding hands will be seen as like against the state, like that will literally
like I say-
be, and it's like, what, you're gonna make it illegal? You could literally get arrested for holding hands with someone because you're like causing them obstruction, like you're protesting, you're like disturbing. It's long.
I love what you brought to the table
Yeah.
there. I'm going
You
to
run with it.
immediately reflect because I do also want to drive the narrative also.
Yeah.
But based on what you said, I'm going to bring 2 things to light. The fact that they brought that Public Gathering Act
The
to
original one,
disperse
yeah,
4
yeah.
people was to bring us all into the clubs. But then you say, how far does this go? When we look at the traveling community in Britain, we can honestly say that there's evidence of the traveling community predating the Roman invasion.
Yeah. Roman Egyptians.
The Roman Egyptians. So we're talking about a culture of a people that's been forced by the government to disband their culture in this country, which in actuality goes against their human rights. They've been forced to move into council flats, register their children and send them to school, which goes against all the ethics of their culture.
Yeah.
They should have their freedom of rights as human beings to dictate how they wish to live their life as free men on the land, which the law states that they are allowed to do so. This law predates any Roman laws and still stands. So the fact that we've seen firsthand witness of a disbandment of the culture of the traveling people of this country that go to Appleby Fair every year, it's a disgrace on the government that they've it's a disgrace on us all that we've let the government get away with this.
Yeah, because they're moving the goalposts. They're changing rules under our nose. Again, like we were saying earlier, like in plain sight, like everyone's so passive, they're just allowing it to happen. And then it's like, if they take an inch, like step by step, it's like the boiling frog theory. If you put a boiling frog in hot water, they'll jump out. If you boil it slowly from cold water, they won't even notice and they'll die. And that's the most people are just allowing it to happen. But obviously they're literally being, what's the word?
Well, this is it. So when we see now the acts of suppression of expression, because expression can have political or revolutionary motive, which the music of the 60s and the 70s have taught us. Therefore, for anybody to wish to have means of suppressing this expression that may be revolutionary or political, that may threaten a current regime, they have to have think tanks of means and ways of how to suppress these messages that may threaten their regime. So when it's been recently brought to my attention to understand that throughout the mid-80s, many of the owners of the record companies that are the majors, which boil down to like 3 different record companies that own all the record companies, all the distribution and all the majors, are responsible down to 3 corporations. I believe that they're German Jewish owned, in fact, if we were to do the research.
And this is what Wiley's on right now. That's
no, Wiley's on what Wiley's on.
Yeah, no, I'm not putting words in anyone's mouth. What I'm saying,
Gangsta Hippies are on what Gangsta Hippies are on. Big up to Wiley, because we love you, Godfather, and there's nothing to be taken from him. That's what I'm going to say. But what I'm saying is it just so happens that this is who these companies are owned by. They saw a great business venture of investing their gains from their music within exploiting artists to invest in prison for profits. It was presented them as a lucrative idea, as a business venture that they can see throughout their linear charts and their expectations that the divide between poverty and the rich is going to widen, and through the extremes of poverty growing, unemployment growing, there'll be more crime. They need to be housed. There's going to be a way in making profits from housing these prisons. If we look at the American penal system, we know that there's more than 50% of inmates are Black and Hispanic, and they can actually say that on the amount of number of Black and brown people incarcerated in America today far exceeds anybody who was brought through the transatlantic slave trade. So it shows you that the human custody slave trade is more prevalent than it's ever been today. I'd also like to point out that through my observations as a white man living in Britain, something like the Black population being as little as 6% in our country, we have to think that how many of that 6% are elderly, how many of 6% are children, how many of that 6% are working adults, and how many of that 6% are left to take up more than 50% of our prison's population, showing us that there's definitely an undercurrent of a racial profiling for young Black males to fill the positions of the prisons that they're building for profit. When we look at if a record company was to invest into prisons for profit, where they now want to say the more prisoners we get, the more money we get.
Yeah.
That then.
So you're on about by private companies taking over prisons.
Prisons for profit.
And how do they make money from that?
Because
by having them do work within the prisons.
Being self-contained and also charging the government
like getting
a fee.
prisons to pack things like DHL and
the
all
workshops
that sort
in
of
the
thing.
prisons and all that.
So and then you're using private companies.
So
I
you're
get
paying
it.
them slave labor,
Yeah,
which
yeah.
in the West,
Because he's getting
in the West,
12 quid a week.
In
or
the West,
something,
we say we oppose slave labor.
Yeah.
And like you said, he's getting 12 quid a week as one individual prisoner.
Yeah,
the
yeah.
contract on him pays the governor £12 an hour for his labor.
There you go. Boom.
So here's the profits.
Because you always heard about that in America, but you can see in
Yeah, 'cause-
England the last few years where there's more private companies
We've witnessed
taking
it
over
firsthand,
prisons.
being in these
It's happened over here.
Virgin
And
Branson
it is literally
headphones,
just bam, like you
packing
say.
Bic
It's,
orange pens,
Yeah,
razors. We've seen the workshops in prison, tea bags,
bam, we've
and
all
all
been
of
there.
it. Right, we've
Yeah.
all been there, we've all done it. So as well as prisons being self-contained units, they also
Yeah.
take outside contracts.
Yeah.
They also have, just reflecting on Britain alone, 250,000 customers that need to purchase their canteen through their administration every week. So there's definitely a profit to be had in that,
Yeah.
as well as money spent on visits, canteens, etc., etc. It's a big prison for
Yeah,
profit.
yeah.
Shop.
Business enterprise. And of course, the more people they have in custody, the more they profiteer. So they're encouraged to bring more people into their prison custody. Now, if these are the same people that own the record companies that have a payola devised scheme to plug and market their songs to radio stations that play what they determine for them to play and have the rewards for playing that, then you see that the same corporate record companies that own the prisons for the profits own the radio stations and dictate to the radio stations what's to be played.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be paranoid in thinking that there's a conspiracy where only negative music is being played to the youth of the urban environments of the lower working class council estates. You don't hear.
You think it's being done on purpose?
It's absolutely been orchestrated and administered. And if you was to think about any of the legal radio stations that have the most popular DJs that's playing music to the youth of this generation,
Yeah.
you can put a thin comb through it all, and you
But
won't
why
find any.
would- why
you
would-
won't find any
Why
positive
would they
content.
Why would they want young kids
I said that earlier.
to listen to negative music? What's the benefit for them? Is it to keep the kids suppressed and at a lower vibration?
No.
What is
They
it?
want them to commit crime,
They want them to.
Oh, I see. To fill the prisons up.
to fill the prisons up.
Right, there you go.
It's a no-brainer, Ricky. It's like,
Yeah.
you know, let's play negative music.
Spurring them on,
They're-
basically.
you
Like,
can comb through all of the music right now in this generation at the first week of January 2022, yeah? And listen to all of the local legal radio stations with the biggest DJs that are the most influential DJs to our youth of today, and fine comb through all of the material that's played, and I can lay money that you won't find any positive content. The negative content is being orchestrated and
Literally in the car earlier, I said,
drip fed to the minds of our youth of this generation to feel that unless they can attain the lifestyle that's being exposed to them, then their life has no meaning or worth or value. If you've got the youth believing that unless they do something totally radical, that their life will remain in a position of unemployment, no meaning, never be able to keep up with the Joneses in which they've been conditioned all their life to want to be able to attain. Yeah. And now they feel that their life has no purpose, no value, and no worth. Therefore, they have now no reason to live for, meaning that they've got everything to die for and kill for. Because if you're not giving them a purpose for life, they've got no feeling about taking yours or losing their own. Now, if you're gonna make sure that you're indoctrinating a generation of a demographic of youth's minds in this way, are you expecting them not to resort to crime?
so do you think that a lot of the increase of violence goes alongside the music and what's being transmitted out to the youngsters?
It definitely does, because from these main media channels, they're not transmitting a equal balance of equilibrium of alternative, even though we know that in this music industry today and within the artists that we have here in the UK, in London, in the UK, around the world, yeah, we have a percentage of people that are bringing the equilibrium balance of positivity and messages of encouragement and upliftment and unification and love within their music. And we can evidently see that it's not being played by any of these media channels who
Not
are
to
owned
cut
by
you.
these people who have prisons for
Yo,
profit.
I said in the car earlier, not to cut you, but it just illustrates your point perfectly. We were playing some drill tunes, banging tunes, and I said, I want to make some positive drill, but they won't play it on the radio. So it's almost like there is positive music elsewhere for other people, but for that group of people you're talking about, it's like drill's the thing. And don't get me wrong, I bang that shit all day, but some people, their kids growing up on that shit, like we're talking about, and like, yeah, it is one message, one frequency. Even the beats Kanye was talking about in that interview with Nori the other day, there's some, even the 808 frequency and like the lower bass elements of hip hop, it used to be more.
Right.
I'm just regurgitating what he's saying, but there is even like music. There's like psychological, not weapons, but ways of tuning music to actually appeal to a dark element. And
frequency.
we like dark drum and bass. We like dubstep. So there is a darkness.
Also tuning music to an enlightening frequency.
Yeah.
Is it 42.3 megahertz?
There you go. There's an actual frequency.
Yes,
I don't
there's
know.
an actual frequency.
528
Actual ones that catch your chakras at that sweet
yeah,
spot.
healing and all that. Yeah, different sounds for different things.
I'm gonna go on. I'm gonna go on to elaborate more.
Yeah,
I remember smoking some high grade mind altering whilst reflecting, holding a meditation within my head after watching Dave Chappelle's comedy skit of him doing the black white supremacist. Taking into consideration that the CD that was on the table was probably 50 Cent's first CD, Get Rich or Die Trying.
Yeah.
And I then entertained the idea of the thought that who would appreciate the content of his music more than the Ku Klux Klan? And I had a vision of like
killing each other.
The Ku Klux Klan rejoicing in a barn with their uniforms, singing along to the content of 50 Cent's music, because of the content of the 50 Cent's music was representing the same agenda that they represent. And it kind of turned my stomach a bit to think, like, who's getting off on this?
Yeah.
You know, like, wow, like those people from the Ku Klux Klan must be pumping 50 Cent's album, really getting off on it.
Yeah.
Kind of like when Dave Chappelle said, I was telling jokes, but was they laughing with me or at me? Like, 1 minute, whoa, you know? And then when we come to the content of laughing with me or at me, would I like to express that when you say content and content creators and people who will exploit the content and where the content can be, the narrative can be taken to, it brings me to Big Shacks. We've got people that have been representing real expression of their
They're taking the
art.
piss and they get more views than the real shit.
You said it in a nutshell.
Yeah.
So I was gonna try like break down.
Yeah, but there you go. That's
to be understood.
Yeah.
Why is that? You know, let's explore.
Because people, like you said, people like to laugh at it rather than with it.
We're gangster hippies. We know what time it is. Let's explore it for our audience. You know, what does our minds and our hearts tell us? Why Big Shaq can go and the thing goes brrrr, and they're all laughing because he's doing a comedy.
He's frustrating. He did it on the Let's Lurk beat, the Gigs and 6-7 beat, which was a hard treat. And then he used the beat, and still that's more popular. You play that, people are like, oh, that's Big Shaq. It's like, no, he did a pastiche of the real shit on the same beat.
What I'm saying, is the demographic again of, are you laughing at us or with us? Because here, what many a serious grime artist have longed to have limelight on Charlie Sloth's show, to be able to express to the world their true innermost feelings. Big Shaq's gone on there as a parody.
Yeah, parody, that's a better word than pastiche. Yeah,
character. Just like Goldie Looking Chain.
Yeah.
And what he's brought as a representation of his parody was a character that many people might resonate to many truths within that character of that parody that he created. But that's not in actuality him. And the fact that he can explode off the back of doing
taking the piss,
a parody as a comedian. I think even when they got to America, they didn't understand it. They was like, oh, so you're not Big Shaq's?
Yeah, of course.
The thing don't go brap. And he's like, no, my name's Michael Dapper. I'm a comedian.
They're like, we would have preferred the real
like,
shit.
What? We wanted Big Shaq. Like,
we're ready for Big Shaq.
The thing goes brap. Like, so you're a comedian, so the thing don't go brap.
Okay, let me ask you about Pete and Baz then. What's your flex on them? Because they're pretty hard.
Pete and Bass. I mean,
Baz.
Pete and Baz.
The old geezers.
Well, you look at what the market is, right? I mean, So let me explain something. Let me explain something to you. Pete and Baz are two old Cockney fucking, let's have it fucking
Works,
hard,
doesn't it?
roll
Yeah.
Cockney fucking hard, man. Yeah, we'll have ya. And it works. And Ardy, the #1 pop sensation of the country, I'll bring you flowers. I'm a cheeky chappy. I'm on the beach in Brighton. I don't love ya. Whoa, give you good wood though. You know, like, isn't he Pete and Basie's grandson?
Yeah, innit?
Ain't he?
Yeah.
Aren't they all of this culture?
Yeah.
Aren't we all generations, all embraced by our fact that we're all UK?
Yeah.
And we're embracing our UK culture. Like, there's nothing strange for me to imagine Pete and Baz doing a BET cypher with H, Young Ardy, Millions, and Gigs. Because they're all a true reflection of this one umbrella of our UK
Okay,
culture.
if that's your response, then let's big them up because that's
big
so.
them-
No, I know, but
big
that, how
them all
sick
up.
is that we can include two
big
old fucking English mates who actually
big-
can
big
spit
them all
in
up.
that shit. But obviously, there's some shit
And-
going
and
on where
al-
it's like
and also-
organised or
no, and also
pre-arranged.
big
but
up to their
still, like, they are
creators.
actually,
Big- big
yeah.
up-
but
do you-
they
do
are
you-
fully.
do you
they
think-
are
do
lit.
you-
They
the
are.
vision?
Do you
yeah,
think they have anything to do with the writing of the bars?
Well, who knows?
No,
Yeah,
no,
maybe at this point, if you could actually spit, you could probably write
I'm
your
saying,
shit. Definitely.
big up to their creators.
Who knows? Exactly.
Because
That's the point I'm making.
Let me
but
show you
still.
how they do have input, yeah? They ain't spitting nothing that they wouldn't agree with. And that shows
And
that
it
they've
started,
got, you know,
and it
they're-
was underground,
They're
innit?
spitting what's a reflection of what
They
they're
weren't
accepting
big to
is a
begin with.
reflection of them.
Yeah.
Now, watch this. Can you imagine yourself writing a song from a place of your daughter's broken heart?
As an artist,
I
yeah.
think
You
of
probably
it-
could do that.
I think
As an
of,
artist,
I
yeah.
think of artistic creators.
Yeah, of course.
I would like to think that I could write a song from a point of view of my daughter's broken heart.
Yeah, no, 100%.
She might go, "Dad, you're a million miles wrong," but you know,
Yeah,
it would be
yeah.
my interpretation.
Of course, 'cause you're an artist,
somebody,
yeah.
as their creators, has tried to represent what they believe would be through their eyes. And they've kind of
And
went,
it's
yeah,
funny,
you've
it
kind of got
works.
it right.
Come
It's
on.
right.
Yeah.
You know, yeah.
People love that shit. Americans love
I
that
outlived
shit.
Harry
Like,
the Hatchet.
You're lock, stock.
So you better
all
shut
of
your
that.
hatchet,
Yeah, yeah.
or else
All of
I'll
that
pull out the
sort of
rat shit.
Yeah.
You know, like.
And do you know what? That shit's easy to write. Anyone could be writing that shit. You can
Yeah,
write that
but
shit
I
all day
mean,
long.
you're talking
Not
about
even-
you're
that's
talking
not-
about it's negative.
you know what I mean.
We said it's negative music, but whatever it is, it's dope.
Well,
all of these young
that's
English
not-
artists.
I'll
I
listen
listened
to it.
for the first time ever. The last couple of years, I listened to more English shit than I ever have in my life. Do you
Well,
know
Yeah,
what I
because
mean?
it's actually
Here's-
some banging
because
the
here's-
English
coming
shit
out
now
there.
is
Here's what
like,
I'd
do you know
like
what
to
I
say.
mean?
Here's what I'd like to say. Just me again, personal opinion. You could be spitting the most. You could be the illest gangster spitting the most illest gangster shit. Yeah. Am I learning something from listening to you?
Exactly.
Right.
Because if you're
Even
coming
though I
up,
write that,
if you're
that's another
coming,
one, isn't it?
No,
If
but
you're
I'm
coming up
learning
with that.
something. Did you give me
It's
something? Did I get
yeah.
a jewel from
if
you?
you're
Yeah.
a
Did
young
you uplift
and
me?
You
Did
tell
you
me something I
elevate
don't
my-
know,
Yeah,
basically, yeah.
right.
if you're a young
Exactly.
guy coming up in the street, you want to hear other guys talking
Listen.
about that because it's
You could have
know what I
listen.
mean?
You could have been the first little nerdy geek rapping about investing Bitcoin, and if we didn't listen to your shit, we slept on ourselves.
yeah.
Even with Potter,
You know, because if that's real to you, if you're a real little geek and you're like, started off on the Bitcoin, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Started off on the Bitcoin, jumped on the crypto, shit, yo, you know what I mean? And that's your real story.
Basically, when I was young, people like Sticky Fingers, and that was my first tattoo, the Onyx face. You know what I mean?
Yes.
But people like that, they would get in your head when you're a young kid, listening
Well,
to people telling you to do violent things.
I'll say this.
and you're already young and angry anyway, so you're out. You know what I mean? And it's like the music is spurring you on.
Raising that frequency of
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Yeah.
So that's, but you know,
Now,
like,
there's
so
al- there's al-
I can see that for the first time in
There's
English
also,
music
there's
now.
also, I will always call the scene, right? For me, my spirit, as an old granddad, right, tells me that the scene is, always has been, and always will be where the essence of young teenage adolescence lies, between the age of 15 to 25.
And they're still the
Because
ones that buy the music, aren't they?
Yes, but they're also the spirit of that developing angst.
That generation.
I mean, I
yeah.
can always revert back to that person I was, and then also add my 2 pence as I've matured along that way to the position that I am now as an elder, to speak to the children going through this angst with this energy, knowing what they're going through, being able to relate to that, not being lost in the generation game.
Yeah.
Yeah. But a lot of people can't. When the music to you sounds like a whole lot of it's humble bumble bumble, and you remembered your parents saying that to you, and you was going, oh, that means they're too old. If you're listening to your kids' music and it's all like, turn that blah 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 blah, blah off, then you've become that person your parent
you're
was,
stale.
and now you're stale. And that's why I say the essence of the frequency of the energy remains with the youth, because it's their youthful spirit, their beautiful essence of their angst, of their teenage adolescent spirit that creates this energy. You know,
Definitely.
we've
And it's always been
experienced
there,
that.
I guess.
It's always
Yeah, it
been
can
there.
be conditioned and
forms.
changed, but it's still always gonna. That would just feed it, because it is a
So
revolution,
now,
isn't it?
so
It's
now,
a reaction.
if I can work that out, you think the minds at work ain't worked that out? Of what music to play to the young girls, what music to play to the young boys, what music to, you know, what music to push the boundaries of acceptance, what music to, you know, and where we're going and where we're at, you know, like, so when we look at where we're at today within musical expression, let's now address cancel culture. Because if you're speaking up revolutionary in peace, in love, in harmony, in unity, bringing education to the forefront, something that someone can learn from by listening to, yeah, then it's almost like you're the enemy from the regime that wants to dumb down, suppress, show our kids one dimension, to aspire to adhere to something that they'll never be able to attain to, and through means of exploiting criminal avenues, that's going to fall them into the trap of the booby trap that they had fell into. It's like there's the, you know, you set up the mouse trap, you put the cheese on it because you want the mouse to come to the cheese. They've managed to be able to dumb down the generation of our young underprivileged societies into just, they call it the trap. These kids all want to be in the trap. Let me explain and further develop on this, yeah? If I had 2 young twin sons, and one of them came to me and said, Dad, I've got a new idea for a chicken shop. I'm going to call it Whirler Chicken, because I'm going to do continental chicken from around the world. There'll be tandoori chicken, there'll be jerk chicken, there'll be brown stew chicken, there'll be deep fried chicken, there'll be barbecue chicken. It comes with mashed potato, rice or chips. That's my bando.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, do you know what, son? The only time feds are going to run up in your place is to buy some of that banging chicken.
There you go.
My other son's going to me, yeah, well, I'm going to set up a bando in the middle of the estate and I'm doing hard food.
Yeah.
Right? Are you mad? Now, none of them ain't had any bumps yet in there, you know. For the first one, the taxman ain't come, neither as the health hygiene people even to tell you if his chicken's, you know what I mean, above board and that.
Yeah.
And for the second son, no snitches, no feds, no raids, no, you know what I mean, they're both there to you.
All calm.
The first son comes and he goes, yeah, Dad, chicken shop's killing it, you know. Next one I'm going to open is going to be next to the uni. I've already discussed the deal with renovating the shop. I've even got some staff to come in. You know, I'll just have to oversee the managerial position, because the minute that they're bopping, you know what I'm looking to do? I'm looking to expand my bando. I went, what are you looking to do, son? He went, county lines, Dad. He went, I'm going to go county lines and open a chicken shop up there. I'm like, son, that sounds like you're expanding your business. And for this, you should be, you know, I should recognize this and be like, big up your chest. You're doing things. You're expanding. You're moving.
Yeah.
I hope you, the beneficial financial rewards. I said, the only time feds are running up on you is to buy your chicken. And that's a good thing. My other son's like, yeah, I'm in the bando, Dad. Know what I mean? Check out my whip outside. That's saucy. You know what I mean? Say I move, never move, whatever it is. Right? And He's like, yeah, full levers, full heated seat, full turbos, full GTI, full,
Yeah.
everything by twin. Listen, yeah, and fuck that, it's electric. You know what I mean? And what them Tesla there we have, and so he's moving. You get me? I'm saying to my other son, did you see his Tesla? He's like, yeah, Dad. What a stupid move! As if it ain't obvious what he's doing. He went, I'd love to buy a Tesla, but I can't wait. I've got to do my marketing. My store expanding. Why are you buying flash cars for? I was like, well, that's all he can really do with his money. He's like, no, Dad, I'm up in the county lines as well. I'm going up the road and I'm going to take a couple of youths with me as well. And they're hungry, I'm hungry. We want to get this. We're all going up there to eat.
Yeah.
Now, they're both expanding in the same way. They're both putting business initiative to expansion for more financial rewards, creating more employment.
Yeah.
But one's legal and one's illegal. Now, the fact that the agenda seems to believe that the kids need to be driven by the agenda that tells them they have to do it the illegal way, when your bando could be your chicken shop. Your chicken shop could do really well. You can start thinking about county lines. Yeah, chicken shop there, chicken shop there, chicken shop there. You see your little workers who you need to recruit. Did you ever think of recruiting them to sell chicken?
Yeah.
Or barbers.
Or
Even
just
without animals.
We're talking about business enterprise recruiting.
For sure. Yeah.
You know, the bando can be any kind of bando you want. It could
mechanics, whatever.
Anything.
Whatever your thing is, make a business out of it.
But what I'm saying is, we can't then, right, scorn and frown upon the youth who was given no other opportunity nor alternative. Their school didn't give them the rewards for them to go into society and attain the job that they would need to survive, right? And they're not getting employed. Their benefits are telling them you didn't pick up the phone, so your rent ain't getting paid for 3 months and you're not getting a ting to yam in your belly for 3 months. People in third world countries worrying about what they're going to eat this week. You're in the UK, you're a youth, being told that your rent ain't getting paid and you're not getting a bite to eat for 3 months. Nobody's employing. Somebody's employing. Rude boy up the road's employing.
And everyone's depressed, so they're using that guy.
And he's the only one who is employing.
Yeah.
Are you wrong for taking a survival initiative for saying, well, let me get to work then? I'm going to work. What does work entail? And then you'd learn, if you was working in a cobbler's, you'd learn about shoes. See? If you was working in a pizza, you'd learn about toppings.
Yeah.
You're working for that guy. So you're learning about that thing. And now you're learning how that thing works. And just like my man's learning, my man's got a couple of pizza shops. My man's learning that my man's got a couple of shops of his own. And he's got a couple of staff on his own. The people who weren't being employed, are they so wrong to seek employment and have the initiative to expand their business so that more can be employed? But we will quickly demonize them for having this initiative, but we will same time reward them if their initiative is the same initiative in a different department. So we have to look at when we're being hypocritical to the youth for adhering to the only choices that were presented to them.
Glamorized
and glamorized, yeah, and made to look like that's the way to go.
Yeah, like in the movie, that's the thing, all of that, yeah.
You know, so now look at this. We were speaking earlier off camera about trainers and the trainer market. And I've got to say, whilst we're on the Happy Hippies podcast, whilst we have this opportunity to speak to our audience, the market of trainers and the limited stock and stock X and the exploitation of the pre-sales, after-sales marketplace that many of my own friends won't want me to say because they have a position within that marketplace has become ludicrous, because it's another way of hypnotizing the kids to seek value in something.
You mean spending dough on bullshit, like especially like obsessing about it, maybe even getting more than one, all of that.
If something
rather than doing it like it doesn't mean anything.
If something is manufactured, shipped, and shelved for the same cost
or for more
as a Mars bar retails for, yes, and then that item of that product retails for £80 at your local retail outlet, which then resells for £7,000 because it's been the narrative has told the children that this is a rare, desirable, must-have item.
I mean, like the value, of a trainer in physical material is like a pound, isn't it?
possession. Yeah, no, this is what I'm saying.
And then it's ends up worth dough because of all the allure they bring to it and the branding,
So
manufacturing.
I'd like to say that
Promotion.
I'd like to say that when we think about a fallen hero like Nipsey Hussle trying to independently educate the youth about the importance of understanding economics,
And like self-ownership, being
self-ownership,
your own boss, working for yourself.
property development,
Yeah,
investment,
yeah.
stocks, you know, for the time that these kids spend money on a Jordans that last them however long the Jordan lasts them before they're saying I'm not wearing that again, and then they buy their next money on their Jordans that they wear until they say I'm not buying that again. If they'd have spent their same money on Nike stocks,
Woo. What you mean buy 90 quid a Nike stock? Soon that's worth though. Quickly,
then
probably.
you see, when your profits off your stock investment within Nike company allows you to purchase one of your own, then you purchase it. When your stock's profit allows you to. Who's teaching the kids this? Nobody. Who in school, in our generation, the generation before us, or the generation to come, got told about banking, got told about tax, got told about housing benefit, making an unemployment claim. They don't teach this in school. They don't teach you about ownership, mortgage. You think that these things would need to be taught in our school? And then we'll go on to be like, I heard from a pro-black radical revolutionist many years ago, and his truth resonated with my spirit. Why would you send your children to be indoctrinated in the enemy's schools? And if they're not teaching us this about our children, that's because they're our enemies. And by law, we have to adhere to sending our children to be indoctrinated in their schools. By law, in this country, we have to sign over the right to our children, where we merely become the appointed guardian by the government. And if the government decide that they no longer want us to be the appointed guardian,
They'll just take our kids away.
they'll just take our children
And that's
away.
crazy, isn't it? When you think about it, right?
In actuality, what they have is the right to take the child's passport away, because possession is
And they
9/10
do.
of the
Let's
law.
face it, every day.
And they do. So, you know, coming to the realization of the suppression, the laws, and what we have to adhere to by law, we have to force our children by law to be indoctrinated by our enemy.
Yeah, we got
And if we don't,
you're the one who sent me some stuff. What is it, Sasha Stone, all that sort of stuff?
Yeah,
with
Sasha
the-
Stone.
I need a piss, but
With the,
Straight
with the-
shooter.
I know, I'll hear you, but I'll be back.
you don't own shit. We was talking about this last
Ownership.
night. You know, your car, you don't own nothing. You
Yeah,
buy a car,
DVLA own
DVLA
it.
owns
Yeah.
that. You don't own shit. You know what I mean? We're stock at the end of the day, aren't we?
So, yeah,
You know what I
so
mean?
so for those that are listening, I remember reading a scribe, I think it was the 24 protocols of the elders of Zion or something, and in there was a word that I didn't know the meaning. I had to find the research of the word, the meaning. The word was goyim, and I went to a friend who spoke Hebrew. I'm like, can you tell me of the meaning of this word goyim? He's like, yeah, it means that you're not Jewish. I was like, good. Then somebody else educated me further to say the word actually means cattle.
Okay. And that's what we are.
Therefore, if you're not them, you're cattle.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, right, that's like.
And when you go deep into the government legislations about different things of our freedom, you'll find a lot how they talk about us as if we are cattle. Do you know what I mean?
what
It's hard to decipher whether they're talking about us or food because we are the same to them. Do you know what I mean? Like,
well, what I'll do now is I'll express what I've come to believe that I've learned along the way, even though I'm no way learned in this matter, or this field, or this subject. And I advise everybody to go and do their own research and do an intent research to find out exactly what it is that I'm talking about, so that you can reclaim your strawman account. So what I know so far is that we have maritime laws and then the laws of the land. And within the maritime laws, they work on the waters. And the way that that's put into contrast of how our human custody is received is that when we go into the ward, we're in a ward of state, which is an army state, is a ward. And then through our canal passage, we're still in our mother's womb, in our waters.
Right.
It's only when her waters broke, we travel down her canal passage.
right.
And when we come to the canal passage, we're received at the dock. As a ship comes into maritime, it's received at the dock. So the baby is received at the dock or by the doctor.
Yeah.
So then we have to have a registration of birth. With that registration of birth, what they do is they make a duplicate of your registration of birth.
You're on about a birth certificate.
Your birth certificate is then made as a duplicate entity in full capitals, which becomes your strawman account.
Yeah.
They call it a strawman.
Your twin, like the one that the paperwork version of you,
paperwork
the
version of
legal
you.
fucking, like the little paperclip on Word, Microsoft Word, like the little
Strawman, because
Ten man,
like in
yeah.
the Wizard of Oz,
your account.
he had
So
no heart. He had no heart and
Who are
soul.
you saying?
You see that now with like
the
listen,
government owns
The
that.
strawman, because just like the strawman in the Wizard of Oz,
Yeah.
he has no heart and soul. But he's an entity being created. Now, what they often do, I think in most cases, I believe I'm right, someone quote me if I'm wrong, is that they're more interested in how much you weighed at birth than what your actual name was.
Right.
They're so interested in what you weigh at birth because what you weigh at birth is put on stock in your strawman in gold. So if you weighed 7 pound at birth on the doc's registrar, then they would put 7 pound of gold stock on your strawman to then enter it into the stock exchange. And everybody's strawman account.
This is real shit.
This is real shit. Everybody's strawman account on their birth.
I'm going to check that out. But
Well, I'm telling you all to check it out. So what I'm saying now, and I'll get with it, is everybody's strawman account is a duplicate of their birth certificate, which is on the stock market, numered, and you can go actually find your number of your strawman account, and you can line it up to add it to. You can find out what your stocks are.
So you are
the
a stock
market.
You are. That's why it's called
stock.
the stock. You said.
Yeah,
I never thought
yeah.
about why it's called
Now-
the stock market because it's a cattle market and we're the cows.
As
The
human,
stock market.
as human
But if
physical,
you're-
as human physical divine spirits that are very much alive,
Yeah.
you are the chief executor of your entity called your physical body, your temple. You are your own God.
Yeah.
Right? You are God unto thine self. Within thine self, seek within. Yeah. Therefore, you are the child of God. You are God. Yeah. And no man has a right to have God's law over man. That's why they can only bring man's law. You, as a divine sovereign entity, you are sovereign unto yourself.
Yeah.
You
You're power.
You are, under their presumed assumption, you are incompetent, dead, lost at sea. And this is why they take the assumed role over your stock. But you're very much alive. You're not incompetent. You're not lost at sea. Therefore, they don't need to govern you as their parent. You're a free man who owns your own soul.
So you mean it works both ways? Basically,
yeah.
you mean it is deliberately designed
You are the
to be?
chief-
If you're an idiot, you're fucking.
So what are you-
You're
are
out.
you-
If
are the-
you're if
you
you're
are
if
the
you're
chief-
clever
what are you
enough,
saying?
fair
Are
play.
these
Well,
just-
they
these-
will-
these
they
are-
will
these
do
are
all
just
of it.
English laws.
They've been doing all of this since the early 1900s when they came up with the Universal Commercial Code
They
laws.
decided they started owning land. They started.
No, it all came under corporation.
Well, even before then, they just suddenly decided
Yeah.
we'll be
that's
the
like that.
lord of the I'm going to call this the
Lord of the
something
Manor.
estate and just build walls of some ground.
Well,
and then
we-
100 years later, we're like, that's the Lord of... That's just some geezer who put a wall up, mate.
Yeah,
Look,
and put a
here's
title to it. And put a title to it. And you
yeah,
bought
put a
into it.
title. Laws, lady, it's all
Like I said.
psychological. Same way when the
So-
Europe arrived
so-
in America and it was just Native Americans, they were like, this land doesn't belong to us. We move about. When the seasons
they
change,
already
we
had-
go. But the Europeans were used to a normal temperate climate where they're like, arrived in America, like, no, we're going to
So
own
this
this.
land does belong to us.
Yeah, it's all mad like that. Just depends
You
where
know,
you
this
grew
land
up,
does
but
belong
from
to us.
a
No,
long-
you're right.
Yeah.
So like I say,
Sorry, go.
and why didn't you ever tell us this? Because you never asked.
Yeah, because you never asked, and now it's gone by 100 years. People not asking,
And it's
so
cool.
it's like, okay, we're going to take some more. We're going to have a little bit more like that. Oh yeah, tell you what, they're not even fucking watching. Let's have it all.
Yeah. So like, so obviously, fast forward to where we're at now.
So where
You
we're
know
at
what I
now,
mean?
where we're at now is we're at a position where the Queen, who believes who she believes to be
Is that all gone?
the head sovereign of this
Did I
state,
finish it?
swore an
Oh,
oath
sorry.
to the sovereign people as her royal subjects, and in her oath as head of church and state, she swore to protect the interests of the people. Physically, not to let us come to harm, not us let to be persecuted, not to let us. Within that, she gave us the right of the freedom to assembly.
Yeah.
Now, she has taken that oath, which she has defrauded with these universal commercial codes. And the ways in which she's defrauded it is because a police constable swears an oath as a servant of the public to serve and protect the people of the sovereign of the head of state, being her subjects as we assume to be. But if we see in actuality today that when people are trying to congregate in freedom of assembly, there's a line of police there beating them on the head. They're not protecting the people that they've sworn an oath to serve. The Queen can see that we're under attack from her police officers. She's sworn an oath to serve and protect us. They've sworn an oath to serve and protect us. And they're the ones beating us on the head when we've congregated for freedom of assembly, which they've gave us the right to do and sworn to protect us in order to do so. And then they're beating us on the head. They've totally contradicted everything that their oath stood for, the Queen and the police. Therefore, the police, Metropolitan Police for one, is a fraud. The Queen and the monarchy is a fraud. It's all a fraud. But it's all a fraud of an illusion that people have subscribed to, adhered to, and are happy to go along with.
Yeah.
Until you know that there's an alternative of otherwise.
Yeah. Why are people happy to go along with it? Just because it's easier. When
So in the Matrix, the red pill and the
it's
blue.
easier when their life is just
Ignorance is
no,
bliss,
no,
innit?
but does the red pill have E numbers, and is it contain gelatin?
Yeah, I see what you mean. They
Yeah.
sweeten the
Yeah.
the bad one. Yeah.
We're woke out here now. Woke. Is it bad to be woke? Is woke bad
Yeah,
now? Are woke?
for
So
sure.
if you
Same as it was in all the
if
times
you don't
talk
mind
about
me
in the
asking,
60s, innit?
Skinny, have you had the vaccine?
I'm not somebody who would in my lifetime subscribe to the vaccine.
Yeah.
Or
I got a feeling that's why he asked you.
I'm not going to persecute anybody for their choices.
Word.
Because it's everyone's to their own.
But I would like to say that in the West, the things that the youth seem to be concerned with most would be the PS5 and the iPhone 13. And they could probably tell me that they've done a in-depth investigation into the iPhone 13, how many megapixels it has, that it runs on 5G, how long the battery time lasts, how long the battery time lasts on standby, how long it lasts on if you're watching YouTube, the fact that it's shock resistant and waterproof. And I'd like to think that they could also do an in-depth investigation into anything that they're considering to inject into their arm.
Yeah.
Because as a result of adverse reactions from these injections, many millions of people have come to harm. It hasn't
Like blood
had
clots and all
it hasn't
shit like that,
blood
innit?
clots spiking. menopause,
Yeah.
menstrual reactions, heart reactions, brain reactions.
There's been more people passing out on sports. You know, you've seen football players passing out. You had that guy from Denmark in the World Cup
yeah,
of the
like how
Euros passed out.
many young athletes are all of a
people
sudden
in the stadiums
dropping?
passing out.
How many people athletes in the stadiums are dropping out, and is it coincidental or it's
That's
beginning
what
to
I'm
look
saying.
a lot
Well,
like
that's what-
genocide?
Yeah, I don't know enough. Do you know what I mean? And I don't claim to be like one of the smartest people, but my instinct told me from day one something
Yeah, your gut
like
feeling.
something don't feel right about that particular.
Let me tell you.
Vaccine, do you know what I
Let me tell
mean?
you how I feel. Here's how I feel. The children of this country need feeding. Okay. Who's feeding them? A young football player called Marcus Rashford. I'm not even into football. Big up that guy, boy. Because I know football players get money, so he must be a good football player, and he's using that money to feed our children.
Yeah.
Salute from the heart, rude boy. You're doing what my heart. Oh, you're a hero already. Don't say a word, innit? What's that? The little German fascist in Buckingham Palace is going to pin a badge on him to say thank you for feeding the children of this nation.
Yeah.
What's going on here?
What's going on there?
What the hell's going on there?
Yeah.
He's feeding the children, you're not, and you're going to patronize him by pinning a badge on him. Lo and behold, the same scumbags whose children he were feeding were chanting racial abuse at him for not scoring a goal.
Yeah.
We live in this place.
Yeah.
You understand? So, I mean, I'm going to go on because there's things that we need to say. So then it's like, yo, you lot can't come together. I know you come for a football match because remember, it's a great distraction for the nation to be Reds versus Blues and get tanked up and don't worry about it whilst they're taking all your rights and fucking your gal. But, you know.
It's a good thing to separate people with sports and that. It makes life easier for them, innit?
And do you support your team or do you support your family? And how much does it cost to support that team? Like what? Like how much is a bloody, what they call it?
Man.
Ticket for the year to all the matches and
season ticket.
And and buying your kids the latest kit, but then they got the away kit, and then halfway through the season they change the kit.
Yeah.
See? You got last season's kit, man. Where you get with that? And these are the things that they're making important. Like allow it, innit? Like so, like I say, we're living at a time right now. Yeah, let me just break it down. This is post Jeremy Corbyn being our only hope and him trying to slander him like and what they tried to slander him with the Jews of this
paint him as an
local
anti-Semite
the
when
Jews
he's the
of this
least
local
racist
community
politician
came out and
ever
said
presented.
he's
blatantly.
back them in their
For the first
thing
time
for
you've
the
Literally,
got-
like,
last
there's actually cookies and they're like, no, he's the wrong
You've got a good one there, and then they make him look like the baddest
Again,
one.
if you can see what is going on, that's literally the easiest play to watch.
Let's break it down.
He was all right.
Let's break it down.
Go on.
Skinny wants to be Prime Minister. Well, you can't because he's a right wrong to Ricky. Here's Ricky. Yo, Skinny's never been a wrong to me.
Exactly.
In fact, he's been my best mate for as long as I've known him.
Yeah.
Right, so how did it still wash over the nation that I've done Ricky a wrong
Yeah, exactly.
and get away with it?
Because
so like I said,
you can't wake people up who are pretending to be asleep. People are numb. People are just.
We're post our only.
Some people aren't blind. They're just numb.
So watch this. We're post our only hope. Where we've seen for the generation that are watching this that can be like, oh yeah, yesteryear to present day, can say, right, they were talking shit about the Brexit that didn't do us any favours, but David Cameron suggested it and ran off, leaving Theresa May to take it with her funny hills and her funny walk, and Guilty Feet ain't got no rhythm, which was prevalent when we saw her dancing, right? So then she's got to run out, and who else other than a jittering buffoon with crazy hair to distract the nation by going burr 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 burr. You see, the thing is burr, burr burr, because the thing is burr. You get me? We weren't having Christmas parties sniffing coke, fucking bear gal breathing up gal, whilst my cabinet weren't grabbing ass and fucking her whilst telling you can't visit your sick mother. And when she goes in hospital, you can't visit her in hospital. And you see when she's dead, you're not even allowed to bury her. Whilst we're all having a jollies, getting coked up fucking bear gal in number 10 having parties. And my right hand man, what's his name? Who was squeezing the girl's bum in the hallway, caught on the camera and all of that.
Matt
Hancock.
Got hand on cock. You know what I mean? Matt's hand on cock and Boris has got new baby mothers and this and that and parties and this and that, but you can't see your dying, dearly beloved mother. And you can't visit her in hospital. Now you can't bury her. Okay. And this is the people that you're listening to dictate your life. So where are we now that we're full circle? We're at a position where in this day and age, my eyes are seeing that police are raping and killing women. Police are beating women up for coming laying down flowers for the women that they raped and killed. Police are taking selfies of 2 young ladies that have been murdered, sending it to WhatsApp groups, and there ain't no resignation from Caress the Dick.
What the what's her name? Is that her name? The woman who's it? Cressida Dick or Cressida? How do I
Caress the Dick?
Caress the Dick. Is that literally how you said? I never said it out loud. It sounds ridiculous, doesn't it? That's for real her name, man. It's something Cressida Dick. I never said it out loud. Read it and thought, well, ridiculous.
And why hasn't she
never heard of this woman? So who's this woman?
She's
the head of the police.
Right.
Like
and she hasn't been
what's
forced
her name,
to resign.
Cressida Dick. No, it is her name, but I've just never said it out loud. It sounds ridiculous.
Cressida.
Caress the Dick. So we're saying she has set our troops on us to beat us at every public gathering, to beat us at every public gathering for freedom of assembly, to put people on horses with truncheons to beat us and stampede us with horses, to tear gas us from our freedom of assembly when their job is to serve and protect us as our servants. So that's why they're fraud and Queen's fraud.
Do you know what the only example?
They're murdering our women, they're raping our women, they're taking selfies of it, and then the women are coming to lay down flowers and they're beating them up on camera for the world to see. And you're wondering what kind of state we're living in.
It's like basically you put people in a state
Come on.
of fear. I mean, when the Twin Towers happened, the world went into a state. Right, if you can hit America, anyone can get hit. And people was willing to give up their laws just to feel safe. They was willing to give up their human rights, like, you know, all stupid
Rock it down. Listening. All of the man are on the front line, yeah? And we're all up on the front line, the bridge, yeah? Bear shots come through all day on Camden Bridge. Bear shots come through all day on Camden Bridge. So all of the man we're all lined up on the bridge and we've all got our little food ready to sell it, yeah? Now, Ricky, he's been giving me half ounce every day on tick, so I can go on the strip, bagged up into my little strips and fling it out on the line. Things are going nice, but Ricky, do you know what? I'm £20 short. Yeah, let me flip the next thing. Give me the thing. Yeah, bam. Give me the thing. I go flip that, come back again, £20 short. Yeah, but come on, give me something. I'm back on the line. Give me something back on the line. Go back that. It comes to so much where you're like, no, Skinny, you actually owe me for a whole half and you ain't gave me nothing from it. I can't give you no more food until you give me something. How you meant to get next food? Then you owe me a half minus 20 for this new half. Like, well, I'll go on for that. Yeah. I'm like, well, just make this the last one. Yeah? You give me the last one. I run back to the strip. I go, man, you know what? Ricky tried to snitch me to the feds and get my yard raided, fam. Feds told me Ricky snitched, fam. I'm not worried about the money I owe you for half ounce. Yeah. I'm worried about what the fuck's going to happen to your clout when you try to come back on the line and I've told everyone you're a snitch.
Yeah.
Ricky did it. That's who I owe the money to. Now, just remember that my name's George Bush Jr., yeah? And his name's Bin Laden. And that's exactly what happened. Yeah. Okay. Inside job. It's not hard for me to blow up my own building, is it?
Yeah.
It's not the first time I did it.
Well, money related. It was all... Things changed after that happened, though. And
remember, I'm trying to pass a bill, right? So that my daddy's side companies can sell all these weapons to the government, but I can't pass the bill until you lot are scared enough to go, shit, you know what? Buy them weapons, secure us. Well, we're under attack. So I tried to blow up Oklahoma. And not enough people got scared. So I tried to blow up the Twin Towers. And only about 8 people died.
Yeah.
Biggie Smalls rapped about that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it didn't quite work. But hear what? My daddy has been doing business with these oil tycoons for so long that we owe them so much money that the only way we can crush their thing, really, is blaming it on them. So let's do this inside job in the building that's got all the accounts that say how much I owe to everyone. So I'm wiping my debts. Building number 7 as well. They didn't get hit by nothing. That was reported by the BBC, who have been found guilty to be involved in terrorism by reporting that building 7 went down 20 minutes before it went down, reporting it had went down whilst it was still in sight of the broadcaster who was reporting it had gone down. BBC did that.
Right.
Yeah. So let's look at where we are now. When you mention the inside Twin Towers job of the NORAD exercise that was meant to be happening, and we reflect into the 7/7 incident that happened in our UK shores, that was also a training exercise that was meant to be happening if it didn't happen, but it happened. What? Like, it's too coincidental. And like I said, always in plain sight. Did you see it?
Yeah. Yeah, they let us know what they're doing, don't they?
So now,
That's always.
So
been
now
a thing.
let's just revert back to being stupid. Yeah. Like I said, I'm not all that clever, yeah. Bit dumb me. And like I said, no one's got no food for the kids, but this football player Marcus Rashford's got some food for the kids. Yeah. So here what? Now the kids can come back to school, but you ain't got no food for them. No. But you got a vaccine for them. You got no food for the kids, but you've got a vaccine for them. Yeah. You got 2 vaccines for them. You got 2 vaccines and a booster for them. And you got masks for them. And you got testing kits by the hundreds of thousands going up their nose with ethylene oxide cancerous chemicals that will test that a potato and a glass of water have got it positive of this flu, yeah. And who's the contractors? Where's the money trail? Who's supplying the masks? Who's buying the masks? Whose company's getting rich from the masks, the tests, the vaccines? Where's the money trails? Why are we not promoting ginger and lemons and honey and turmeric and
Exercise,
and alkaline
immune
food and
system.
exercise? And I mean, is anybody allowed to talk about what it means to suffocate your nostrils from giving your brain the essential oxygen that it needs to breathe for your lungs to circulate the blood through the oxygen within the lungs? These are essential for you to cover your mouth. Is detrimental to your health.
So what? So
Why do you think
basically,
we've got
because
nostrils?
obviously my original.
Do you know why we got eyebrows?
Go on.
Just stop the sweat going in your eyes. You know why you got nostrils?
I haven't got eyelashes. Stop the sweat going in your eye.
No, that's
All
what
that.
block the sun.
Yeah,
Your
all of them
eyelashes.
sorts of
Yeah,
things,
and your eyebrows is to stop the sweat going in your eyes. It makes sense, right?
Yeah.
That's why you got drums in your ears to hear. Yeah.
to
Those with
amplify.
tongues shall speak. Yeah. And those with nostrils, in the words of the great Ralph, shall take in that great piranha. Yeah. Or else you're starving your brain of oxygen that it needs and your lungs.
So I mean,
You're killing yourself.
I'm more scared of the vaccine than I am of the virus.
Yes,
And I've had the
I am.
virus. Well, I tested positive.
I've
Whatever
had
that
flu.
means.
I've had flu.
Do you know what I mean?
I've had flu.
So
Can we say this?
basically-
Can we say this? Can we say this? From the beginning of man-time, the flu died. 2001.
Yeah.
And Omicron was born. And there was no more flu ever again.
Yeah. It's just
But
a
there was
remix,
vaccines, but there weren't no food.
remix.
But there was vaccines, but there ain't no food, but there's vaccines. Like, tell me this. What's going to be... If the kids don't get food, they get ill, right?
Oh.
You can't eat a plate of vaccine food, bro. Where's the proteins and nutrients
Trust me, bro.
for a growing lad or a growing lass?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Plain old, good old fashioned eating fruit and veg and exercise.
We're now going to show that we're hip with the kids in the modern times and that we're down with how they may feel or how they may be told that they're free to feel and coerced by an agenda of how they could possibly want to identify us. I'd like to say that even though I'm not a rape victim of Prince Andrew, I identify as one. Respect me. Scene from the Happy Gangsta Hippies. You don't know.
I mean,
so where we going there?
So I don't know what. Like, is there too many people on Earth and the richest, powerfulest people on Earth? Because like when you go,
Am I going to get cancelled for this?
like the very
These gangster hippies got me cancelled, guys.
the very top of the food chain.
No more podcasts with me.
You got powerful people. You got local councils, and then you've got like governments, but then you've got the richest people and the most powerful people. Them lot get together. We know they do. What's the thing where they get together?
The Bohemian Grove.
You know where they go to these places.
The Bohemian Grove, Jekyll Island.
You know, the Amazon boss, the
Yeah,
Facebook
the Carlisle
boss, all
Group,
these
the
dudes,
Tri-Little Commission,
And
Exxon.
if you're them guys and the top scientists are saying there's too many people on Earth, we need to do something about it. If you're them guys, what do you do? Do you know what I mean? Do you just kill a load of people suddenly? Or do you fucking put a virus or a vaccine? Is it really to do with some deep conspiracy to fucking kill us, or is, do you know what I mean?
All right,
They have no better plan because everything's chaos, so they're just like
Was it just an accident that happened in the lab?
Would you like me to tell you what my conspiracy friend told me?
Go on, then.
I'm down with a lot of theories right now, but I want to hear from your mouth. I'm not saying enough.
It would go along the lines of something like this. When it was first observed at the growth and the rate of human population, which was always told up until that point, I do believe, go forward and be fruitful, multiply in numbers. Yeah. And then it was like, 1 minute, how far have we multiplied in numbers? How much resources do we have to sustain the numbers? And when it was first ever a consideration, the guy who considered it was just doing it as a mathematical equation, and people must have come down and like, what kind of nutter are you?
Yeah.
You know, why are you thinking like that? And he was like, no, because it's just logical as a mathematical equation that when we develop to this much, we'll have outgrown our sustainability of resources to thrive as a people on the planet. You know,
or even just
we're doing too much.
Yeah.
Right. And when it was first considered, if we look here in the West, as I was raised, and we thought that, wow, in China, they're saying you can only have 2 kids, fam. What? What? What's that? What is that?
Yeah.
What the hell is that?
Yeah.
You can only have 2 kids.
Yeah.
And just the thought of someone dictating to 2 human beings,
and it's more than
bonded in love and matrimony, how many siblings that they can conceive into this earth, and that being dictated. And I was being like, whoa, what is that? Well, watch this. In reflection today, we can say that it's very true, evidently, that the first people to adhere to the consideration of overpopulation and doing something about it were the Chinese.
Yeah.
What side of the angle are we looking at here?
Yeah.
Whilst in the West, we've continued to blossom and be fruitful.
Yeah.
To the point that due to our overconsumption, the farming of our cows in the West alone is threatening the planet.
Yeah, and we're not even farming them here. They're farming them in South America, cutting down the biggest jungles and Amazon.
But the gases that they're producing.
Cattle there.
So when we had to look at that, let's look at this. So then by the time other people in power were considering the population game, the pros, the cons, the threats, may I get fire? I'm going to break it down like this, right? In the time I've known you, rude boy, the population have gone from the 20% elite to the 80% population. It's shrunken down to the 10% elite to the 90% population. We now know that today in 2022, the economical elite is the 1%ers, leaving 99% of the rest of the world being not the economical elite. And if you think of that pyramid scheme of the economical elite being at the top of the pyramid, being the 1%ers, then who's at the second part of the chart being maybe the second 10%ers? And that's taking up 20%. And then who are the 30% underneath them? And then who are the 30% underneath them? And who's at the bottom of the pyramid? The lower working class that serve. Now, if we were considering the numbers in something like the 1950s, we would have said, look at our brilliant industrial revolution, where we've learned to engineer machinery to help us with our labor, right? So the need for lower working class human labor to serve the elite is becoming less as the industrial revolution replaces the need for human labor and the machine takes over, which then became the factory, which then became the digital technological revolution, where we now have computers to compute and tell the machine what to do, needing even less labor. So if we look at in the 50s, they would have said, you know what, in the numbers that we've got and the amount of people that we need to serve us, looking at our position as the economical elite, the upper class, the low middle class, the upper middle and the lower and the down to the bottom of the pyramid, we can get rid of the skim off the bottom being really 40% of the human's population. And since then, we've had all kind of things. We've had the smallpox infestation on the blankets that were given to the Native Americans as my first knowing of chemical weapons,
Medical warfare.
medical warfare, chemical warfare. You know,
So when was that?
that was when the Pilgrims went to
When they
America,
first
back
went
in the day,
over.
yeah.
and they helped them.
But that,
what they did was
so
they
the
helped.
difference was that weren't
they
done.
helped
That
them.
weren't done on purpose. Was that?
No, they
It
weren't
was
doing that on
purposely done.
purpose.
It was purposely
Multiple
done.
diseases,
Yeah.
like chemical
They-
warfare,
was actually
medical warfare.
taken-
They knew that
Literally killed
Caucasians
a whole
had
continent
an
of people.
immunity to smallpox. That the
So they took it over there on purpose.
Same way,
Yeah.
you know, the grey squirrel in
and-
this country
and-
has killed
yo,
off the red squirrel.
and gifted it. to them.
Diseases in other countries just
Right.
run rampant.
So I'm gonna say that, right, my brother. So watch it out.
Yeah.
We know that in the German Holocaust, the people were told that they were going into the shower.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, they was going to shower, right?
We now since know that when AIDS first came out, they told us in the West it was Africans having sex with monkeys. Then they told us it was the homosexual community was responsible. Then they tried to say this and that. They eventually came out and said it was man-made, and that's the man, and that's the lab. And
So that was one of the first big ones, really. That they, do you know what I mean? That
So
we
now-
know that they made that shit.
they've admitted it, and it's facts, and it's you know, right. So now we look at Ebola.
Another man-made one.
We look at the swine flu.
Yeah.
I know that one of the injections of one of the untested vaccines caused thalidomide children,
Right.
and children born with polio because of the lupus vaccine or something like that. So in time, we've seen a pattern of evidence to present day of ways, if not by war, of killing us with weapons, of chemicals. And now we take into consideration world wars that have been orchestrated and who have been the benefactors of this.
If they're
So
trying
now-
to,
so
if
now-
they're trying to kill us, are they doing a very good
no,
job
no,
at
no,
it?
no, no. So now watch this. So now their most recent equation is, wow, if we've now entered the age of the digital revolution where computers can command the
Heard
machine,
you like livestock.
where the computers can command the machines to do the labor, then there's a massive percentage of human population that they believe that they can afford to wipe out. Now, who are these people that have been talking about parent planning? Melinda Gates' parents, whose daddy wrote a book called The Virus that was published in 1982. Boris Johnson's daddy.
Yeah.
Who?
When? 1982.
Yeah. When was Corona's patented in the patent office?
When?
And who owns the patent?
Who?
Research it for the viewers and comment below.
Who? Okay.
We want interaction with the viewers. They're going to comment below and we'll spark this debate and we'll enlighten each other further.
Yeah.
Come here, you lot. Are we buzzing or what?
Yeah.
Can I have my big man them come and jump behind us? Come on, all of the man them. Come on. You got to jump behind.
Happy New Year.
Listen,
to
this
everyone
is-
and all that,
this
the
is what it
Gangsta
is.
Hippies.
Our message if the cameras are still rolling and the viewers are still watching and they're still paying attention, they're not too stoned, is this. We're all unified in love. We're all brothers and sisters and children of earth. Yeah, the big man. And cameraman, you jumping in. We're all unified as brothers and sisters and children on this earth. The first thing we need to know is not to forget to love each other and don't let anything divide us. Like, you can't be arguing with your friend about pro-vaccine and anti-vaccine because that's divide and segregate right there.
That's what they want.
You know,
Keep an eye on each other, but don't spy on each other.
Have a conversation.
Right.
You know, don't let a conversation become an argument. Don't let it become a debate. As you saw, where's all about them guys? Yo, we're getting ready to say goodbye and sign out. We need you all bunched in. Come on, let's all get bunched in. So, this is the first Gangsta Hippies podcast brought to you at the very first week of 2022. We do have a shout out.
Exactly
What's this?
Yeah, we do have a shout out.
What's
And
this?
this is to County Lines, the graffiti magazine. So for anybody watching, get involved. The DDS man, they're all up in this. They sent me
Full of
this.
flavour.
County Lines, Zonk, all of the man. Listen, and you're going to see much more to come. So find out, who knows, tag them in this and tag below and let them know where this magazine can be available and outlets for all of my graffiti heads up there. Keep writing, keep graphing the boss up like Task Force would tell you. And from us, the happy Gangsta Hippies, buzzing as birds and bees.
Trust me.
And the man them in the back, the people that pull the strings and make this work. Have a prosperous 2020. Remember that you are the
2022.
2022.
And I want to say big up for smashing our launch night the other night at the Norwich VR room.
Happy to do that.
Like you came and ripped that up. Big up everyone who came.
Here's the message.
Let me hear the last drop.
Here's the message. Here's the message. The message is that you are the author to your own book being your life. And you can write the next chapter. You're the person who can write how you want the next chapter to be and how you want the story to happily end, live happily ever after at the end, right? So become the author of your own destiny because the book is your own life. Be the author of your own book. Don't let anyone dictate to you how your life should be. You write out to yourself how the book of life should be for your life. Only you can do that, no one else. We love everybody watching. Nothing but love in this room.
Gangsta Hippy.
Yeah, Gangsta Hippies with haircuts.
Trust me, bro.
Peace and we're out.
Peace.
Love. Come on.